Well, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome this evening, today, the 25th of September 2025. And I want to welcome those who are following me and those who are joining me on YouTube, those on Facebook, Instagram, and also TikTok. I want to thank you so much for joining me on this evening on In Review, where we look at some of the, what should I say, some of the top news in the UK and even around the world, because I always have to touch on Jamaica and everything like that. But I think primarily it's going to be on the UK tonight. And I'm going to go for 1 hour. And I think at the end, I'm going to touch a bit on a little review of the Charlie Kirk thing there, what happened recently and the memoriam. But one of the key things for tonight, which I wanted to talk about, and it's about Keir Starmer and the digital. What he's talking about, sort of introducing a digital ID scheme. Labour is in turmoil. That is the Labour Party in the UK, with Andy Burnham provocative challenge, which he's sort of saying it's up to the people, it's up to the MPs, but it's up to him really. Katie Hopkins being arrested. I want to talk about the Jamaica Westminster system and about the 27 members of parliament who are now ministers of the 35 members of parliament. I got a view on that, which I want to talk about. And also, finally, going to talk about the diaspora elections, which is happening in the diaspora countries, that is UK, USA, Canada. And I think that is something which is going to be very important. It is something that I'm very interested in, but not to stand in. So, ladies and gentlemen, before further ado, let us get the show going. Okay, well, good evening, good evening, good evening, and thank you for those joining me on the land of TikTok or Talk Tick. Claudine, welcome. Good evening to you, wherever you are in the world, whether you're in Jamaica, whether in the USA, wherever you are. As a matter of fact, according to what is on the social media world, Jesus should have come already on the 23rd of September. So really and truly, those who are here now are left. Is gone. The rapture is come and gone. It is very interesting how things can be taken out of hand and how charlatans and false prophets or so can actually say things and people actually believe it. My good friend of mine, she posted on her Instagram, on her TikTok, by saying, guys, I'm not going to fight any of you for saying September the 3rd, September the 23rd, Jesus is going to come. However, what I would like you to do is to DM me and send me a bank account and send me all your details so I can look after it for you, And there's also a guy which is flying in the air and say, guys, I'm looking down, I'm going up to heaven, and people are taking a mick out of it the whole time, and a lot of people are saying Jesus is going to come. But the Bible says no man knows the date, the time, and the hour when the Son of Man will come. All right? No man knows. And the trumpet will be called, and then finally, and for those who believe in God, rest assured in the sense that, you just got to be ready for when he comes. So I want to thank you so much for joining, and for those joining me on Instagram, those joining me on TikTok. I remember, if you like what you see, if you like part of the show, not like what you see, remember to subscribe to the platform, and let's take it from there. One of the news which came out. Gary can't make it tonight. Gary is in. I think he's in somewhere in mainland Europe. I think it's some church convention. So I'm alone here tonight, but I'm used to it as well. The show must go on. The Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. I won't say that he's in I think he's trying to find his way around things. I think he's trying to find his way around things. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, and uh, and I'm not going to talk about the bit about labor in turmoil, but what I'm going to talk about briefly is about this ID, this Keir Starmer and digital ID, which he's talking about. The government is preparing to introduce a nationwide digital ID scheme known as the Brit Card. Actually, somebody even from Jamaica sent it to me and said, "What do you think about it?" I said, "My only thinking is for Keir Starmer to go." But we'll talk about that after. This is requiring all adults in Britain to hold a state-issued digital identity credential, typically access via smartphone apps. The central goal is to curb illegal migration and illegal working by enabling employers and landlords to verify individual rights to live and work in the UK instantly through a national database. A policy Starmer will announce at the forthcoming Global Progress Action Summit in London, inspired by successful digital ID models in Estonia. The plan aimed to modernize civic infrastructure to reduce the appeal of the UK's shadow economy to unauthorized migrants, and streamline identity checks for individuals seeking jobs or accommodation. So you see, what is happening is the whole aspect of migration, and nothing is wrong in trying to stem things and put things in certain order. I don't have a problem in respect of digital ID. I think, in a sense, we're all digitally linked in some respect. Digital with your phones, with the cards and everything like that. People don't have even cash anymore. People don't have their credit cards anymore. So everything is on the phone. Ting ting ting. I'm trying to say everything is all linked up. The scheme will be subject to public consultation and legislation before implementation, with Starmer's administration considering barriers for those without smartphones or passports to ensure broad accessibility. Yeah, and control, yes, control. Everybody's trying to control. Labour campaign group argued that the Brit card can help enforce migration rules, safeguard citizen access to rights, and minimize the risk of identity exclusion or documentation uncertainty. The government highlights the rising numbers involved in channel crossings and asylum backlogs, asserting that the lack of an ID system insensitizes illegal immigration and complicates enforcement against exploitive employers. Yeah. But I want to say Starmer's proposal faces significant criticism from civil liberty groups and opposition MPs. And I believe this was actually raised some time ago. And I believe the Conservative and I think the Lib Dem with the coalition, they actually voted against it. Uh, it is said the previous Labour government attempt to introduce ID cards was ultimately blocked. It was blocked by the Conservative Lib Dem coalition. But early this month, Sir Keir said in an interview he thought the debate had moved on since then. We'll all carry a lot more digital ID now than we did 20 years ago. And I think that psychologically it plays a different part. He had it, talk about 666, all these different things which are talking about. But I do wonder sometimes, and this is what I do wonder, as to this is like the people are like guinea pigs. The people are like guinea pigs, and those that come in power, and I do not where they get that emphasis and that impetus and that desire, and that is it that the people are reaching out to them and say, "This is what we want. This is what we want," or is it that they're implementing these things out of their, whatever? But at the same time, there's a problem and there are issues that need to be sorted out, and therefore that is what they're trying to do. The government last year rejected a digital ID proposed suggested by former Labour Prime Minister Sir Tony Blair. But recent weeks, ministers have warned to the idea as they have come under increasing pressure to tackle illegal migration. So as they say in law, the mischief. What is the mischief about this whole thing? The mischief about this whole thing is to curtail and to deal with migration, illegal migration, boat migration. But if that's the case, then maybe to implement those to illegal migrants, if anything. But at the same time, they're doing it across the board. So therefore, you will have a card. And if one don't have a card, then more than likely they are somewhat not in the system. Cabinet Officer Minister Pat McFadden has also talked about the scheme's potential to improve access to government services as well. When he recently visited Estonia, where digital identity can be used to access services such as medical records, voting, and banking. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, and one can correct me as well, NIDS, that is the National Identification System in Jamaica, that is somewhat of a similar nature. But I say it's a cynical ploy. Um, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has expressed skepticism that the digital ID would help to tackle illegal migration. She says she don't think that it will. Yeah. After the Prime Minister earlier said this month that officials were examining a scheme, he said it was not really going to solve the problem. Reform UK has denounced the plan as a cynical ploy to fool voters that something is being done about illegal immigration. He said it is laughable that those already breaking immigration rule will suddenly comply, or that digital IDs will have an impact or any impact on illegal work, the party added. What's your view? What do you think about this ID? Are you happy for this ID system? All it will do is impinge further on the freedom of law-abiding Brits. Someone said control earlier. Yes, it is somewhat of a control. When they're going to start to tap into you wherever you are. You have this card which you call Oyster card. You tap it, and when one day you can actually access it, and it tells you everywhere you travel, everywhere you have been to, using the Oyster card. The Lib Dem played a central role in blocking the previous Labour government ID. I wonder what they're going to say now. Ed Davis said that, which is the leader, told the party's conference earlier this week the party should look at this issue again and not be knee-jerked in its opposition. So there's going to be a review. There's going to be a looking at this digital ID, and I'm sure the Brits somewhat feel a bit, I'm going to say it, like a guinea pig, in the sense of they are practicing on, they are trying, and they are using all these different experiments with cars. They say no more gas car or diesel cars. Once it was diesel that was being pushed, now no more diesel, now it's electric. Then after a while, electric, trust me, I believe this, eventually it's going to revert and come back to petrol. Yeah. Online checks, they say employers already have to check that prospective candidates have the right to work in the UK. Since 2022, they have been able to carry out checks on passport holding British and Irish citizens by using digital verification services that have been certified by the government. Home Office online scheme also exists to verify status of some non-British or Irish citizens whose immigration status is held electronically. Yeah. So this is. Let me just move this picture here. So this is what is happening in the UK, and this is the development in the UK that I was actually watching a blogger the other day, and according to his vlogging, he was more saying that the UK is not the same anymore. It has completely changed. And he was talking about looking at the whole aspect of our reform is actually trying to change the whole landscape immigration wise, talking about getting rid of the indefinite leave scheme, ILR, and of course, for those in the States, indefinite leave to remain is somewhat a bit like the green card system, a 10-year factor there. So they're talking about that in a way to curb immigration. Home Office online scheme also exists to verify the status of some non-British or Irish citizens whose immigration status is held electronically. It is understand officials have been looking at whether requiring a digital ID could provide a more consistent approach to verifying identity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a new development. It is I do not like when it is left to the government to implement these things. I just really hope that there'll be serious consultation with the people through their members of parliament, and because of course this is something that you're not going to have a referendum on, or you're not going to have a major vote on. This is going to be a policy thing, and therefore it's going to be rolled out eventually once it is past the checks, once it goes to and more than likely it's become a law. Yeah. So that is the latest thing in regards to the digital ID that the Labour Party under Keir Starmer is doing. And I think Keir Starmer is getting himself so busy, uh, busy with lots of things and not busy with running the country properly. Thank you so much, Claudine, for your likes, and ladies and gentlemen, for your likes. Remember to like the page. Remember to share as well, engage. Normally, as I said, tonight is not the night whereby I will have guests for this period of time while I'm doing this discussion. This is in review, where we look at some of the top news around. And I always ask the question, what would you say is your top news? In the States, what do you say is your top news? Your top news, I believe there's been some development in the States recently. There have been some developments, I believe, in the States. There's been some shooting, some ICE thing there, and attacking ICE. So, Trump is on the move, whatever. So things are happening over there. The other thing, though, in regards to, and I really believe that the Labour Party under Keir Starmer is on shaky grounds. And many people believe that Labour Party is on shaky grounds, right? And I post this guy here, which is Andy Burnham. I just post him there for a second. Andy Burnham. Look at that guy there. This guy is the mayor for Manchester. Andy Burnham. Let me find a better image to put him there. Yeah. Yeah. Andy Burnham. There he is. Andy Burnham. Now, what is happening is this. Labour is currently, that is the Labour Party, is currently facing a period of deep turmoil. You've seen the resignations of some key persons of recent days. And that is marked by high-profile resignations, divisive internal debates, and sliding poll numbers that have left the party unsettled. Just over a year into government office with a whopping majority, a landslide majority, 400 MPs, Conservative 122. The departure of key figures such as Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner. Senior advisor Lord Manderson has intensified uncertainty in Westminster, leading to the whole thing whereby he has been sacked from being the ambassador to USA. The instability has been compounded by the rise of Reform UK. Everybody said the rise of Reform UK in national polls and ongoing scrabbles following major government reshuffles, leaving Labour exposed to existing threats that some believe demand bold wholesale change. And the whole thing about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's I said it earlier, it's like the Labour Prime Minister is locked himself around persons who are his yes men, his cronies, because you saw recently when there was a reshuffle, he removed David Lammy from Foreign Secretary and gave him Minister of Justice and Deputy Prime Minister after Angela Rayner resigned, and put the Home Secretary over to the what should I say, the Foreign Secretary. So he recycles the key persons, maybe keeping him maybe I feel safe. Andy Burnham now, that's a gentleman which is there, Mayor of Great Manchester, has emerged as both a critic and symbolic alternative for the party's future. Now, the Conservative went through this a bit, but they went through it with the 1922 committee where they can move kings, where they can set up kings and remove kings. The Bible says we set up kings and remove kings. Labour Party is a bit different, repeatedly voicing concern about Labour's factional and divisive internal management and what he calls a climate of fear created by Number 10. Burnham has revealed that multiple Labour MPs have privately urged him to challenge Starmer for the leadership, fueling speculation of his possible return to Westminster and hinting at a more inclusive, left-leaning agenda focused on bold policy reform. Burnham insists that he is not actively plotting a leadership bid, but he has articulated a vision for aspirational socialism that includes progressive proposals on housing, taxation, and child welfare, positioning himself as a champion of those disenchanted with the current party direction. Many people are unhappy. A lot of Labour voters are unhappy about how the Labour Party is going. They say, in a way, we actually do not know the difference between the Labour Party and also the Conservative Party. And when one reflects and roll back the curtains of memory and go back to when Rishi Sunak, the former Prime Minister, was saying, if you follow Labour, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's going to happen. And I tell you this, it is more truthful that what Rishi Sunak said is happening under the Labour Party. Burnham's intervention have drawn both support and backlash from within Labour ranks, with some MPs and party figures dismissing talk of a leadership challenge as unhelpful tittle-tattle, and others warning that its ambitious risk further instability. How much unstable can the Labour Party be? Yet with its popularity among members rising and the pressure for new ideas mounting, Burnham has become a focal point for internal debate, challenging Labour to reconnect with its base and its roots, setting out a credible plan to beat reformist opposition. Many people are being spooked by the boogeyman, and the boogeyman is Nigel Farage reform. They've got 5 seats, but at the same time, they've got an overwhelming, based on the polls, a surge. And the surge is a bit similar to Trump, whereby he still maintains the position. He's still saying the same thing, like Trump was going about doing the campaign, maintaining the same position, maintaining the same thing right through up to the time when he became office. But I think that more than likely, what may happen is that an election, I remember a senior MP said in a meeting, and he said, let's not just sit back and wait for the next 4 or 5 years when the election is ready. Get ready right now, because an election may be called at any time, right? There could be a leadership, a motion of no confidence. Now, let's look at the whole aspect of Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham is the mayor of Manchester, Greater Manchester. If Andy Burnham comes in, well, he has no sort of local standby in a sense, because he has no seat. So therefore, there will have to be a by-election, and right now there is no seat going. But normally, sometimes when these things happen, somebody will maybe, the scalp will be taken by someone, and they'll stand down, and there'll be a by-election and get a safe seat with some whopping thousands or so. But reform will be going inside there, and that is how he will sort of gain a seat and positioning himself. It's a bit like, and let's think of this other person here, Mr. Sadiq Khan. Many people are saying Sadiq Khan is also positioning himself as a potential leader for the Labour Party. Watch him very closely. Boris Johnson did it. That is a clear sort of way forward into the number 10, right? So watch your space there. So there could be a Sadiq Khan and an Andy Burnham. However, they will have to get seats, because they do not have any parliamentary seats as well. And that's what's going to happen. So the party now faces a critical junction. That is the Labour Party, whether to rally behind Starmer or contemplate a dramatic shift on the Burnham or another leader aiming to unify and reinvigorate Labour's mission for the country. And I think it would be maybe the latter. Don't have to be Andy Burnham, but someone else, because if within a year that the Labour polls are going down, and it's very clear that Starmer is not very effective, because you saw recently when that Donald Trump came, that was like a big bounce, and many people said that if Keir Starmer was a drinking person, well, that was the time for a wine. But two twos after, what did Starmer did? Mess up that relationship, because he's now recognizing Palestine as a state along with France, right? So things are getting a bit topsy-turvy, sort of the Chagos Island and all these sort of things. Taxes are going to rise with the autumn debate budget. So it's a rocky ride, I must say, in the UK. So I think the earlier it goes, the better. The later it goes, the worse. Is it worse? Worse. Yeah. And so that's my sort of thinking in regards to Keir Starmer and the Burnham. Yeah. And the Burnham may be the person that they're looking for. I think the Labour Party is still reeling on the David Miliband, who actually lost at that time to his brother. Yeah. And his brother is in charge of one of those top charity out there. But they're still maybe reeling for him after his brother's lost election and won. So we watch your space on that as much as possible. Yeah. Good. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for those who are on Instagram, those who are on TikTok, those who are on Facebook, those on YouTube. Let me hear what you have to say. Send me a message, send me a likes. Tell about Shanath K. Are you ready? And TikTok, that is just some water I'm drinking, not promoting anything. Thank you so much for that. Tap up the screen, like and share. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, that is something that many people are talking about. That is something that many people are questioning about. Tommy Robinson marched the other day saying about freedom of speech. Many say it wasn't about freedom of speech. It was about the white wing agenda. You know, however, we saw the latest. And when Trump confronted Starmer and said, we got to be mindful about freedom of speech, Starmer said, no, we've got the best freedom of speech everywhere in the world. This is the best thing. Vance also had pulled up the UK in regards to that. Now, Katie Hopkins, everyone know Katie Hopkins. Katie Hopkins of recent days, she was arrested. Yeah, Katie Hopkins was arrested. And because of her utterances. Right, and it's very interesting because now people are being arrested. Police are knocking at your doors if you say something which is maybe untoward. I always say this all the while, and this is what I say: freedom of speech. You're free to say anything you want to say. You can stand in your back garden and you can say it, and nobody here. You can say it in the confines of your home. You can say whatever you want to say. However, when you're going to use a platform, um, a, a venue, and there are people there, if you're going to use TikTok, you're going to use Instagram, you're going to use Facebook, you're going to use YouTube, you're held in constraint by the community guidelines, right? So Katie Hopkins was arrested by Devon and Cornwall police in August 2025 after posting controversial material during her live online comedy broadcast, Katie Arms. The investigation focused, on alleged violations of the UK Communication Act 2003, particularly concerning online communications that were deemed capable of inciting hatred or constituting a crime of speech. Hopkins attended a police interview under caution, stating that she did so only under the threat of arrested if she refused, and released a video statement outside Exeter police station protesting the process, calling it an unlawful interference with her freedom of expression. The arrest stems from complaints about contented broadcasts during her comedy sessions, which featured outspoken views on Islam and the Quran, among other contentious topics. Critics describe some of her speech as hate speech, leading police to initiate a formal investigation to caution her over material considered potentially to stir up racial or religious hatred. She argued that her broadcasts were comedic in nature and that any offense taken was a matter of personal choice rather than criminality, asserting that she was being unfairly targeted for her speech. So at present, Hopkins, she has been released pending further inquiries with formal charges still under consideration. The case has quickly gained what I would say attention within conservative media circles and social platforms, raising broader discussions about the policing of online speech and the boundaries between comedy, commentary, and hate crime legislation in the UK. The UK authorities have not officially announced prosecution, but the situation demonstrates the increasing scrutiny faced by media personalities under modern communication laws for their activities on digital platforms. So digital platform, what we are using now, heavily scrutinized, right? Even if you may write something and you shared something and you want to delete it, the footprints are there. In WhatsApp, for argument's sake, yes, you may write something, you may share something, and you may delete it, but the footprint is there. I know for sure there are organizations which are there and you can delete everything and they can under with a court order, they can get all that information and they can actually utilize it. Yes. Um, um, for persons on TikTok, I'm taking guests at this time. I'm doing the show on YouTube. YouTube is the primary channel, which is Silburn TV at YouTube. Remember to like and subscribe and to come on and to follow and to increase the likes, increase the yeah. Freedom of speech is it free anymore? But I said it. I said you're free, but you're held in constraint. But it is how now that the authorities and the police they are more quick, I understand, to go for persons in regards to online speech than persons who this is what they say. Honestly, I'm just repeating it. I'm cautious without evidence to propagate something to say that there's more going for online speech than for burglary and domestic violence and all those sort of things. But it's a world that you are in now with the digital age, digital speech, digital world that we're in now, and things will have to change, whether we like it or not. Because how it was before, it is not as it is now. Everything is open, everything is exposed. People who are I was watching something in Jamaica about a girl named I forget what her name is, and she committed suicide. And she has been speaking for a while about it on her platform, but somehow maybe people weren't listening to it. And what's um what's her name again? Tamia or Tania or something like that. Yeah, I think it was very sad. The way our speech is used, our speech is utilized. What you say can have an impact because you have very what should I say impressionable minds, persons who are easily persuaded. Not everybody has a length of or a sense of soundness or firmness. Everybody is at a different place. Yeah, everybody's at a different place. So freedom of expression is something, and one will have to look at it in a very serious way, I must say. Now I wanted to let me remove Katie Hopkins. uh Katie Hopkins. That was Katie Hopkins there. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining. The Westminster system, which is there, is something which the Jamaican government emulate, and it is something that the Jamaican government follows. Yeah, the Westminster system. That's how the parliamentary system is in Jamaica until the king is removed as the head of state. Then that system remains. Maybe a presidential system, maybe something similar to America. But something I was looking at, and I saw something earlier today that Ed Bartlett, who is the Minister of Tourism, it was on Nationwide, said he's going to retire at the end of this parliamentary term. That is 5 years' time. Of course, if it goes to 5 years. So therefore, the succession is working on the succession. I wrote on that platform and said, hang on a second, is he staying to help with the succession, or is staying to sort out the ministry? Because that's not the role really of the minister, to really formulate and have a succession. Because guess what? And the next election may come, and the persons who he is actually training may not win the election. The party may not win, and they also may not win, even if the party wins. Or it's going to be a senator or something like that. I'm not sure who is the person with responsibility, or the deputy or the minister of state. So I'm very cautious about this. And I'll do a local research in regards to, you have 27. Let me put a picture up there. And I need to really home in on this properly. Yeah. There are 27 ministers of government, and including of ministers of states. Yeah. Now, I'm not talking about the senators. I'm talking about out of the 35 MPs in Jamaica for the reigning government, 27 are ministers of government. 27. Now listen to. I was doing this research, and I said, in the Westminster style system, cabinet ministers are drawn mainly from the elected members of Parliament in the House of Representatives, Gordon House, where the government must maintain majority support to remain in office. With 35 seats, the present Jamaican government holds a clear, but not overwhelmingly, majority in the 63-member House, allowing it to pass legislation and maintain stability, but requiring a careful management of internal factions and dissenting voices. The appointment of 27 ministers and ministers of state, nearly 80% of the government MPs, demonstrates both the government reliance on parliamentary members for executive roles and the tradition of distributing ministerial responsibility widely across the governing party. Now, are there any pros and cons? Let's look at the advantage. The advantage of such a configuration is that it strengthens cabinet solidarity and helps ensure government unity on critical votes, with most MPs sharing a direct stake in the executive survival and agenda. Let me put up the picture here, because I think it's very important that the picture is up. Let me go to the side. Yeah. Okay, I can't go to the side. Okay, the picture is there. Yeah. And so having a large group of ministers can allow the government to tackle a wider array of portfolio issues, distribute leadership experience across the party, and reward loyalty among MPs, promoting internal discipline and cohesion. Yeah. Let me just remove the picture again so you can actually see me. You know? And the more I look at it, the more it becomes very, very interesting. In small parliamentary majorities, this wide distribution of ministerial posts can minimize open rebellion and bolster party morale, while helping the PM maintain control over diverse region and interests. In all of this I've said a while ago, there's nothing about the people. There's nothing about the people. Nothing about the people. All right? The negative side is this. Appointing so many ministers relative to the government's parliamentary total can create governance problems, limited checks and balances, and a heightened risk of elective dictatorship, where executive power overwhelms scrutiny and backbench independence. This setup also reduces the pool of MPs available to provide rigorous parliamentary oversight, concentrate expertise into a smaller group, and meaningful challenge government decision from within the party. Such centralization may diminish parliamentary debate, undercut democratic accountability and encourage the perception that ministerial appointments are more about a patronage than merit. These risks inherent in Westminster system transplanted into small legislature remain an ongoing concern for Jamaican governance. Nothing again is said about the people, right? And what is so very important is that the people in the constituencies, when they are more than likely go and speak to your MPs and knock on your MPs' doors, and that MP is also a minister, chances are you're going to be able to, chances are, will you find that member of parliament now? And what's going to happen is this: maybe you might bring an issue that needs to go to the House. You want to challenge the government on a particular point because that's what your constituency has raised. Your constituency has raised an issue, and therefore you will need to somehow bring it to Parliament. But then you are now constrained by this thing called collective responsibility. And by collective responsibility, you got to toe the line. So therefore, all the MPs and the ministers of government have now become yes men who represent the people. The people who put you there. But again, the people might say, well, the people that put them there maybe have no problem with that, which is unfortunate because in Jamaica's system, just over 800,000 people voted. 1.2 million people didn't vote it. 400 and so thousand for the JLP, 400 and so thousand for the PNP. Maybe just get out their party stalwarts, and it doesn't make a difference to them. It doesn't help governance. It doesn't help good governance. Doesn't. I don't know what you think. Let me hear your views. Right? That is a very interesting thing. And as I said, if you're going to put someone in there because you want to train them and for a succession thing, no, that's the job of, for argument's sake, the director of tourism, the civil servants within different ministries. They are the ones that really run the show. The MP is really the policy director, the one that guides policies and said, this is a mandate, this is a policy that we had based on our manifesto. That's how we won the election. So therefore, they need to implement that. But any government, any new MP can take and fill that position. That is why you'll have a doctor, not a doctor, in charge of Ministry of Health. That's why they have persons and they shuffle different ministries with persons once they're an MP. Think on that, ladies and gentlemen. Think on that. That's just my view on that primarily. Ladies and gentlemen, please think on that and let me hear your views in regards to that, because there got to be good governance as well. Let me hear what you say. Let me hear your thing. Please like and don't shoot the messenger. Giving the view. Now, finally, there is something which is called the Diaspora Council. Yeah. There's another election which is upcoming, and for those who are involved or know about the Jamaica Diaspora, there is the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council, and as you can see that there's going to be an upcoming election, and this is about representatives serve on both the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council. The Electoral Committee is responsible for the conduct of the elections and will consist solely members of the diaspora. And members of the diaspora are Jamaicans outside of Jamaica. That's what it is simply. The position which is open, there will be a total of 4 positions to be filled with both councils, electing 1 representative each to serve the UK South and 1 representative each to serve the UK North region for both the GJDC and the GYDC. Hi, how are you, Super Nick? Why it matters? These councils play a vital role in shaping government of Jamaica's engagement with the global diaspora. It should be. But that's not how it is. It is more deemed to be like an arm of the government. It is not something which is, hearing what the people in the diaspora is actually saying and then actually sending that message up. It is more like the message coming down. Well, that's my view, and that's how I see it. And many people talk about that as well. And it is something which is of a major concern regarding the diaspora. Yeah. And why it matters. Members of the Jamaican diaspora residing in the United Kingdom, whether through birth, descent, marriage, or Jamaica, are encouraged to take part in this process. The timetable, further information regarding nomination procedures, eligibility criteria, and voting debates will be shared shortly. So get involved. I would say definitely I won't be involved. When I say involved, like putting myself forward, but people should get involved. We invite committee members, youth leaders, individuals, and cultural advocates to consider standing for elections or supporting nominees who reflect our shared values of unity, pride, and progress. I'm doing my duty by just talking about it, but my charge is that for anyone who is thinking of putting themselves forward for this, you know, I can't get involved. NIG, you can't get involved. Why don't you get involved? You're in the States, get involved, man. Get involved, man. You know, my charge and my challenge to anyone who's considered putting themselves forward, don't get into it because of the fanfare to be near to a minister or to be able to travel to Jamaica or so. Get in there because you want to be a voice for the people within the diaspora, whether you're in the UK, USA, Canada, or even the Middle East. You're there to get your hands dirty, not for profile. It is not about a profile thing. It's about getting there and to be able to challenge, the minister, the government, as to issues which are pertinent and important to the diaspora in the UK, in USA, and Jamaica. Welcome, Mr. Tavares. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So and that's my charge, and that is the message that I'll give to anyone who is, because our eyes is upon you, watching you. It is not about profile. It's not about profile. It's about working. And if you're not going to do the work, don't do it. Don't be an arm of the government, whether successive government, PNP or JLP. The Diaspora Initiative was started, and I was a part of it from the 2004, 2006, 2008, carried on right through. Till after a while, I realized it was just maybe just a plaything, just like a government arm. Profile. Oh, I was with the minister. I went to Jamaica, went to this conference. No. That's not what it should be. It should be whereby you speak up for the issues of Jamaicans overseas. And there's a whole debate about having someone in the Senate from the diaspora. There's a whole debate about having someone on boards from the diaspora. I do have some issues with that in a way, because I've been studying and looking around for different countries if that's happened, and I'm not seeing a senator or someone sitting in the upper house as a senator representing the diaspora. I'm not seeing that. But what I think is very important is that diaspora members are, and the Prime Minister said it in his speech, said it is not just about remittance, right? It's about also the investment, and it's also about the capital, the human capital. A lot of people, and I saw a guy, I forget what his name is. There's this video, this guy, I think he's a bloggist. I think he's in the UK, and he did a video and he was saying, boy, things hard, things hard I never see it like this. This is so hard for Jamaicans overseas. And he's sort of encouraging people to go home and say, why, or alluding to why things not happening. But I'm on the other view of that. My view of that is that Jamaicans in the diaspora need to dig in and to be effective. Need to get involved with councils, get involved with governance, be magistrates, be judges, be lawyers, not just runners. Jamaica is not just about running only and athletes and music and dancehall. We operate in all spheres and spectrum of things. In the House of Commons today, you have a good amount of Jamaicans. I don't think any born Jamaican. I think I was the one who actually put on my CV to be one of the first born Jamaican member of parliament. Still not impossible for the UK. Nothing is impossible. But I believe that it's very important that we get involved as much as possible. Those who want to go back and those who want to invest, do that as well. But recognizing that, because guess what? The Asians are doing it. The Jews are doing it. The Chinese are doing it. They are slowly building and taking over. And somebody said in America the other day, the Mexican landscaping, they are doing it, right? But if anything happened with the Jamaicans or the black community or whatever, I'm not going to say it, but I'll say it. We march. While those guys, they operate with an economic clout. They operate with an economic clout. And I think that is one of the things that we need to have: economic and political clout as much as possible. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that's a wrap for tonight. And I was, you know, I'm a Christian. I'm a born again Christian. I'm not afraid to say it. And I was watching the Charlie Kirk Remembrance of the Day, and it was really moving. I don't know if I don't know if I have a video. I think I don't know if I have a video. Do I have a video? Do I have a video? There's a video which I wanted to play. Um, I don't have the video actually, or do I have the video? But one of the things that really struck really a strong chord was the love of Christ, which was prevalent in the place, and the worship on a Sunday. The worship was really awesome. As a matter of fact, I do have it. Now I want to just play it if it's possible. And Eva Rubio said some things there which was really powerful. Don't know if it's gonna show. As a matter of fact, I let it be. I let it be because that's it's gonna take me over the time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining and all the best and wish you all the best for this week so far. And remember to like and remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel Silburn TV. You can pop over to Silburn TV and watch the Silburn TV. Thanks for those on Instagram, those on TikTok, those on Facebook. Thank you so much, and all the best. Remember, peace out. All the best. Thank you very much. I'll see you.